Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We are going to present our group project, which is hotel reservation system. So this is our team members, which is Muhammad Imamuddin as a group leader, Muhammad Azri bin Abdul Aziz, Muhammad Shazam bin Muhammad Izam, and Muhammad Adi Syafiq bin Tirmizi. So I'm going to explain the introduction. The given could implement a hotel reservation system for a hotel with 3 floors and 5 rooms per floor. It allows users to perform various operations such as reserving a room, displaying reservation, deleting a reservation, saving reservation to a file, and loading reservation from a file. The code utilizes a 2D array of structure to store information about each room, reservation status, and guest name. The main function contains a menu-driven loop that repeatedly prompts the user for a choice and calls the corresponding function based on the input. So I'm going to explain the analysis. The code defines constant num floor and num rooms per floor. So second, a structure reservation is defined which contains 2 members. Name to store the guest name and is reserved to indicate whether the room is reserved or not. So a function prototype are declared to display menu, initialize reservation, display reservation, reserve room, delete reservation, save reservation, and last load reservation. And last, the main function initialize the reservation array, display the menu, and enter a loop to process user input until the user choose to exit. Inside the loop, the user choice is read using cin, and switch statement is used to call the appropriate function based on the choice. And last, the loop continues until the user choose to exit.
Assalamualaikum, and today I will explain about implementation phase, which is program source. In this program, there are 3 number of floor and 5 number room per floor. And string file name is reservation.txt. The function of reservation.txt string file name is for saving the reservation in this file, which is reservation.txt. The struct name is reservation, which contains string name, and bool is reserved. The first function is void display menu. The function void display menu will display all of the cout in this program at the start of the program. The second function is void display reservation. This function will display all the reserve room that have been made by the user. Next function is void reserve room. This function will ask user to enter the floor numbers and room numbers. If the user input the wrong floor numbers, it will display message invalid floor number and invalid room number. Next function is void delete reservation. Void delete reservation function is to delete the already reserved room and floor that have been made by the user. If the user enter the invalid floor number, it will display message invalid floor number and will ask the user to enter the floor number and enter the room number. Next function is function void save reservation. This function will save the file save the reservation that have been made by the user to the file that have been tell earlier in my presentation, which is reservation.txt. All the reservation that have been made by the user will be saved in the reservation.txt file. If the file fail to run, it will display the fail to open the reservation file for writing message. If it's succeed to save the file, it will display reservation data saved to file. Next function is void load reservation. This function will load the reservation that have been saved by the function save reservation. After if we exit the program and we start it again, void load reservation function will load the reservation that have been made earlier reservation. If there are no previous reservation data have been made, it will display message no previous reservation data found. The last one is main, integer main. If the user enter 1, it will call the function reserve room. If the user enter 2, it will call the function display reservation. If user enter 3, it will call delete reservation function. If user enter number 4, the program will call save reservation function. If user enter number 5, the function will call load reservation function. After all the reservation and save reservation and load reservation data complete, user have to pick input number 6 for exiting the program. That's all from me. Thank you.
Okay, for the next presentation, we will go to designing our flowchart. So in our flowchart, we have 8 function, including in-main function. So in in-main function, we will start and initialize reservation, and then we will call the display menu function, and then we will read the input from user and read the input from user, which is choice as the input, and then we have 6 type of input that we can read from the user, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, and 4, 5, and 6. And if the input is other than 1 until 6, it will go back to read input for user to enter again input until it can read either 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6. And after the user have input the choice, it will call the certain function that user input, and then it will end the in-main function. So to go for the first function that the user could input is initialize user function. For initialize user function, we start and do we have 2 loop inside initialize user function. Both of them is for loop. And in display menu function, the function is used to only display the things in output, the introduction table. And then for display reservation function, we have 2 for loop and one if that is used for this function. And we also display floor. We also display the floor plus 1. We display the floor that we plus 1 it, and also we display the room that we plus 1. And then we go to load reservation function. In load reservation function, is used to show the reservation that we have changed. So we will show the current reservation that we have changed, and is in this function we use the file method to print to get the input from the file called reservation.txt. And we also use 2 for loop, and then we display the reservation data loaded from the file. Next, for save reservation function, we use the file method also, but we use to print the data to the file reservation.txt. And also the same in this function, we use 2 for loop, and we display the reservation floor and room. Next, for reserve room function, we use for the user to reserve their room, and there are a lot of display in this function, and we read the floor input from user, and we use many type of loop for, and we use if many if process, and we also display the room number and display the guest name that user entered. And lastly, for delete reservation function, we use this function to delete the reservation that we have input, that we have entered. And in this function, they're also almost the same with reserve room function, but the difference is we delete the reserve room. But in reserve room function, we reserve a room for the user.
Okay, this is our main menu that will loop every time user input any input except number 6. So first I will reserve a room. Input number 1, floor number 1 to 3. I will reserve for floor number 1, first floor, room number 5. Okay, room 1, 5 is reserved for Adi. Okay, then if I reserve the same room, it will display message room is already reserved. And if I reserve room that does not exist, it will invalid room number and invalid room number floor number and room number is invalid because it does not in the range of the room. So I will display reservation. So just now I reserve floor 1 and room number 5. It is reserved and the guest name is Adi. Then I will delete the room that I reserved. Reservation for room 515 is deleted. As you can see, the room is now is not reserved anymore. So I will reserve one more room for save function. Okay, I will run save reservation. Reservation data save to file. Okay, so it is already saved. So when I exit the program and then run it again, so when I run it again and display for room reservation, there's no room that is reserved. And then I will load the reservation from the file I just saved and display again. So just now the reservation that I did is now loaded into the program. So that's all for the demonstration. So that's all for the demonstration. I will now input number 6 to exit the program. So it's exiting the program and it's done.